Hello, I am Charlene of the Rainbow Frequency, and we have Matilda here with us too, so hopefully she'll relax and be quiet. Um, I am coming here today to share a bit of my journey with you all. Um, I have two cameras going, so I'm trying to look at you both. I didn't set this up, but still. Technology is the hardest part of my job, which I work as a spiritual practitioner and guide, healing and helping people heed the inner wisdom that they're feeling, hearing, seeing within themselves. In my estimation of going to see someone of my ilk, while we might tell you something you hadn't thought of for yourself or given you some insight to things that you might not have been willing to believe, I feel like I mostly am here to reinforce what you're already feeling so that you will believe it, be empowered to believe yourself more. I'm not trying to create a codependent relationship where you need me to tell you everything to thrive. No, I want to teach people how to believe in their own innate gifts so that they can have the best lives they can for themselves, and then to be a healthy individual so that then the world is a healthier, more positive place. So again, going back, I'm going to start at the beginning and share how I got here. Because I firmly believe we hatch as we're designed, and we have to learn who we are and then learn to work with what our gifts are so that we may do it with intention. As far back as I can remember, I have wanted to be in this role. I was really gifted or that it was allowed. So, some of my earliest memories of things that I knew I was resonating with were from like shows, TVs, and books. Discovering fairies deeply resonated with me. Like Peter Pan, that was one of the first. The Disney movie Peter Pan, also the Disney movie Sword in the Stone. The Last Unicorn was my ultimate favorite. And in a lot of these stories, there is a character that I identified with that the whole journey was to believe in themselves and have confidence so that they could stand up and shine and do what they were there to do. I wanted to be the sorceress from He-Man. I wanted that bird headdress and to be on top of a mountain and people coming to me and I could help them. Yes, sign me up. I also wanted to be Lucy from Peanuts, where people came to the advice. I hoped I wouldn't be so snarky. But again, I really wanted to help people process psychologically what they were going through and let it go. When I was little, I went to Disneyland. I was born in California. So we went to Disneyland and riding the Pirates of the Caribbean. The first time I saw that skull that talks before you drop off into the pirate land, I was like, yes, I love that. And I was very, very, very little. So it's just, as kids, we very much don't fight our true nature. We're drawn to what we're drawn to. Then we have people around us that might pull us away from ourselves. I remember I was watching the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon as a kid, loving it. There was a unicorn. I mean, hello, what's not to love? Magic, yes. My parents freaked out because I was born in the late 70s. So at the time, it was thought that Dungeons and Dragons was satanic, so they wouldn't let me watch it. Later, it was Laverne and Shirley, which to this day, I have no idea why I was no longer allowed to watch Laverne and Shirley, other than maybe they were promiscuous. I don't know. But again, then at 15, I started practicing divination, and my parents freaked out. so I hid, I didn't share with them anymore about these things. I still did it, luckily, but um, I had enough experiences. One, when I was little and I had told my grandmother that I knew certain information, and I told her that no one had told me. I just knew, I could feel as an empath how freaked out she was. So again, I shut it down. Um, at, in middle school, luckily, besides starting to practice divination, I listened to my inner guidance. Spirit led me to start reading books on mental illness so that when people in my family were diagnosed later, I knew more about the mental illness than they did. So it's just really, truly, I really believe you are designed a certain way. It was only through actually looking at my birth chart, I would say maybe 5 years ago, that, I had already started practicing Reiki and helping people. I'd started doing readings and being honest with people that I had certain skills, but I really was skeptical of my own self and had a lot of self-doubt, that it was looking at my birth chart, seeing it in black and white, seeing the cosmic design and how it was just reinforced. My gifts were all there. My soul calling of wanting to help empower people to be their best selves, helping people self-actualize, it was all there. So then I started to believe, like a lot of people, they really have to fight the skeptic in them so that they can have self-acceptance. When I started practicing tarot, I felt like I had to read the book that came with the deck. And when I shuffled the cards and did my reading, I had to go to the book and I had to believe exactly what the book said. And it didn't resonate. So I luckily then put it down and then went to runes. And that deeply resonated with me. And then later, realizing that while it is important to know the classic definitions and interpretations of each card, for me, being psychic, the best thing I could do was to tune into my own inner knowing. And each time I read for someone, even if I pull the same card, I'm going to see different things that pop out from the card, because it's individualized and circumstantial. So I can read for the same person and pull the same card at two separate times, and they might have a different message slightly that comes through at that point. So it is really tuning in to your own inner knowing to convey the message, not just performing rote behavior. Same with energy healing. I have been historically a very type A driven perfectionist sort of person. So I went into Reiki determined to become a Reiki teaching master, and I was going to co-teach with my teacher and do it just like I was taught. But then as I tuned into myself, first it was funny because I'm meditating, I'm focused on Reiki because that's the direction I'd chosen. And in my 20s, I'd gone to a psychic and she told me I was going to be a shaman. But again, that seemed really big, and later, I don't know. And so here I am studying Reiki, meditating, my guides come in and they start presenting me shamanic tools. And I even said to them at that point, I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have the wherewithal or the money to study and get certified in another direction. So I pushed them off. And then later, they kept coming. And later it dawned on me that Reiki and shamanism energy healing, spiritual work, many different names and methods, but they're not dissimilar. They're not separate. So that's why I now will refer to myself, even though I don't really like labels, as a shamanic Reiki practitioner, because while I am working with your energy, I'm also helping you delve into your subconscious so that you can process fear and emotions, let go of the blockages, have self-acceptance, and grow. But, again, it took me a long time for my own self. I mean, even now that I work professionally as a psychic, I will have times where information comes into me for myself personally, and I will argue with myself. And it's so silly. I know better, but I'm a human being. So it's just, that's where you have to slow down, spend time to tune into yourself, and then stop being resistant. So think back to your childhoods, what you loved, what you were drawn to, what you gave up because others convinced you to, and try to reconnect with that part of your inner child and explore it. I really prompt you to consider in your day-to-day life how your intuition is speaking to you. We know about red flags, and that if we ignore them, that we tend to get burned in the butt. So, that's one form of your intuition. Listen to your body. Your body gives you signals to tell you what it needs, what it likes, what it doesn't like, but we tend to not listen. We tend to power through or tell ourselves we're wrong. And that's a disservice. Listen to your emotions. Your emotions are there to tell you when you need boundaries, when there's a wound that you need to tend to, when something elates you, listen to this guidance. I love that we're moving into a period in time where we're really starting to value our emotions. We're starting to really recognize how important our emotional health and well-being is to our vitality. We're also moving into a time where we're starting to recognize that we really need to work to relegate our nervous systems. So it's just hip, hip, hooray. I love this evolution we're having. I love that we're also having this renaissance of spirituality, and people are realizing that they need to come back to their spiritual nature to be holistically healthy. It's mind, body, spirit. It's emotion. It's emotional body, mental body, physical body, energetic body. It's tending to all your parts and pieces, tending to your inner child, tending to your inner teenager, tending to your inner young adult, all the way to wherever you are now. Stop compartmentalizing, stop focusing only on certain sectors like work, or being consumed with finding love. Start by loving yourself and being true to yourself. Then you will attract people who appreciate you for you instead of wanting you to be something that they're projecting you to be. I think that's it. That was a very short and sweet message for us, the channel that I am, because again, I'm a psychic. Channels information from the Akashic records, from your spiritual team, from your body. I create a sacred space so that you may heal. And I truly believe that I am here to help you heal yourself. While I am an accelerator, an initiator, and a power boost, you're doing it for you. So Please, as a mother, as a fellow human being, do these things for yourself. Accept yourself, take care of yourself, be true to yourself, and don't have fear to follow what your heart and soul is calling you to do. Because if we all show up and do what we're here to do, like the animals and plants do out in the ecosystem, it will come together and thrive in a much better way. Instead of it being competitive, fear for survival, us versus them mentality, let go of that and move into having reciprocal exchange and choosing to be joyfully abundant and prosperous, and know that everyone can have that and should have that. Best wishes, all the love. Be well holistically for yourself and the environment you're a part of.